Before we begin this ranking, a quick heads up. It's entirely done from my point of view, which makes it biased as fuck obviously. I understand that you may not agree with it, and I would really appreciate it if you leave your opinions in the comments below after finishing the video. And one more thing as well. Spoilers for all of the 8 Spider-Man movies, which I will probably show on the screen just in case. With that warning out of the way, let's just get going with the ranking with number 8, which is Spider-Man 3. So another disclaimer, before you start hating on me, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I'm saying it just in case, cause yeah, may sound like I ended up hating it. But no, it's actually the opposite. But yeah, let me just point out the problems I had with this movie. To begin with, it was part of the trilogy that started this entire thing. But the way that the story was handled wasn't the best. It had tons of flaws, though most of them are probably unnoticeable for the average viewer, some are, and probably bugged some of you as well, as the audience, you know. Cause yeah, they obviously bugged me. So let's start. First things first, the movie had 3 villains, which obviously meant that there won't be enough time to fully flesh them out. So yeah, let's discuss them. Firstly, Harry Osborn. He maybe had 2 movies before this to kinda build him up and flesh him out, but the way the fights with him were handled felt really rushed and all over the goddamn place. Not to mention the whole amnesia subplot that was created later on, which was like, yeah, maybe it's a believable plot for any other movies, but come on man. One simple bump in the head was enough to create this? I just don't buy it, I'm sorry. But yeah, next up is the Sandman, which arguably is the best villain of this movie, at least in my opinion. Cause yeah, it may be because he had half of the movie to be fleshed out, which gave some of the viewers time to understand him and get his point of view, show some empathy even. Honestly, I loved his story and the fact that he only wanted his daughter to be healthy and nothing more. But yeah, won't get too in depth since it's not a review, it's just a ranking, and I wanna tell you guys why I'm putting this movie in number 8. So yeah, let's continue with the next villain, which is the last one. So yeah, last and most likely least is the goddamn symbiote, which most of us ended up calling Venom either way. But yeah, he felt more like a conveniently placed plot device rather than an actual villain to me. But even with all of those mentioned, we still haven't gotten to the elephant in the room, which was a specific scene.
I hope Pete's getting a shot of this.
Yes. The goddamn kiss between Gwen Stacy and Spider-Man. It was out of nowhere and didn't fit the way Peter Parker was written in this movie at all. What's worse is that it's one of the main events that kicks off half of the plot of the movie, which is obviously Peter falling in a dark place and trying to get out of it. And yeah, the idea of such a plot isn't bad at all as well, but the fact that this kiss is what starts it made half of the movie, to me, feel like it was a weird Marvel What If episode rather than a canonical movie. With all of that being said, let's move on to number 7, which to me is Homecoming. Now, Homecoming is a great movie in my opinion, especially considering that it introduces Spidey into the MCU as a standalone hero. The main reason I place it this low is, again, because this entire video is biased. Overall, the movie didn't have lots of flaws in my eyes. The main thing that was noticeable to me is that Spidey is completely different from the way he was portrayed in the movies that came before it. The entire atmosphere of the movie was chill and laid back compared to the darker atmosphere we got to see from Maguire's and Garfield's versions of the movies. Overall, it did a perfect job at telling the viewer that this Spidey will not yet be taking the great responsibilities that come with his huge power. At least not on his own, since obviously there are tons of other heroes in the MCU, which kinda allows him to fully enjoy what's left of his high school life without stressing over combining his hero life with it. So yeah. Next up, number 6 is Far From Home. Now this movie followed Tom Holland's version of the wall crawler again, this time after being through tons of world-changing events, biggest one being the blip. What I loved about the movie is that it's the first media where I got to see Spider-Man away from goddamn New York, going all the way over to Europe. Yeah, in this movie, Peter had to get through his mentor's death, while trying to keep up with his normal life and living up to the expectations that Stark left on him. And although he was struggling with it, it still showed a ton of progress compared to the version of Spidey we saw in Homecoming, which is why I'm putting it at number 6 instead of number 7. So yeah, above Homecoming. That's basically the reason why it's at number 6. And with that being said, following it, at number 5 I've placed The Amazing Spider-Man. This one, it's a bit weird to me, since the Andrew Garfield duology seems to be the weakest one of the 3 takes on Spider-Man we are talking about today. Overall, even if the plot is something we already saw in Maguire's story, it still had me interested, since it had more focus on Peter's actual parents this time around. And even though, yeah, they ended up not playing as big of a role as I thought, it still was enough to make me question if they'll actually end up playing a bigger part in this entire thing, up until the very end of the movie. About the villains though, they weren't that interesting in my opinion, a bit weak even, like the goddamn lizard wasn't anything too big. It was still enough to keep the plot rolling. Doesn't matter. Overall, it was a good way to start a reboot, even if it felt a bit rushed over in some parts and didn't put too much attention on Garfield getting used to being Spidey. But yeah, after it, at number 4, I've placed Spider-Man 1. The first movie that started it all. Pretty much everything about this movie was perfect for me in it. From the way Maguire handled his role to the false iconic take on Green Goblin, to even the all-known backstory with Uncle Ben. I don't even know if it's just nostalgia, but even after watching it I still couldn't find any noticeable flaws with it, unless I tried being nitpicky, but obviously I'm not being nitpicky with this entire ranking. Overall, the movie is a classic that will probably end up staying up there as one of fans' favorites takes on the hero, but it still didn't make me place it higher than number 4. So let's keep going with number 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Continuing on from where Garfield Spidey left off at the first movie, this one follows a conflicted version of Spidey trying to find a good mid-ground between his life as a normal human being and a Spider-Man. Well, he keeps struggling throughout most of the movie to achieve that. At least he manages to find happiness at the end. Right? Yeah, about that.
Gwen! No, please!
But hey, at least we can get to see him overcome the darkness in his heart in The Amazing Spider-Man 3, right? Oh, yeah. Fuck! Why? Anyway, well, this movie may not have been the greatest one, and the villains were, again, rushed to hell and back, even 2 times. I'm looking at you, Goblin. They weren't the strongest part of the movie. The strongest part, in my opinion, was the goddamn romance. Yeah, I don't care if people say that killing off Gwen Stacy was a bad idea. In my eyes, it was an incredible one, making me feel sadness that all of the other 7 movies didn't manage to do. And I find that amazing. The disappointment I felt when trying to find the 3rd Amazing Spider-Man movie just to see it being cancelled was immeasurable.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
I was also annoyed because they build up to the Sinister Six appearing next movie, but it seems like we will never get to see that, at least not with Garfield's version of the character. Unless the hype around NoWayHome created around Garfield's backstory doesn't make the producers finally bring us a sequel. Speaking of sequels, let's continue the ranking with number 2, which is Spider-Man 2. This one was just incredible. I don't know if it's nostalgia again or just the movie by itself, but I loved every single bit of it, from Dr. Ock's switch in personality and the way it was explained with the AI controlling him, to Peter having personality crisis, to even MJ's life and her personal problems, as well as building up Harry to becoming the next Goblin in the 3rd movie. The scene with Spidey stopping the train also has been, for a while now, one of the first things popping up in my head whenever someone mentions Spider-Man. Everything was just handled perfectly, man. It is probably the most iconic out of the 8 movies, at least to me. Sadly though, I may get some hate for this ranking again since it's biased, but I haven't placed it in number 1. Cause yeah, obviously number 1 goes to No Way Home. Yeah, I know, the hype around this movie has been big. Hell, you may not agree with me for putting it in the first place, and that's alright, but let's be honest here for a second. There are tons of reasons for me doing this. Firstly, it brought back most of the old villains and united the 3 Spider-Mans we are talking about today. And yeah, maybe the villains were handled poorly in the first part of the movie, but that was kind of fixed in the second part. Also yeah, fucking Doctor Strange was acting a bit, how shall I put it, strangely? Yeah, I know that pun sucked. I know that pun fucking sucked, don't kill me. Back on track. Regardless of those problems, it still did something that Holland's version of Spidey desperately needed. It finally made him become a true Spider-Man, by forcing him to lose all of his close friends and potentially causing some trauma. The best part of this movie comes after Holland's Spider-Man loses his aunt and he falls into despair, when the 3 versions of the hero unite together and console each other. That moment may bring some closure to Holland's Parker, making him realize that he has to grow from this and not fall in a bad place. That's not what makes it amazing to me. The thing that does this is seeing Maguire's and Garfield's versions of the characters and their portrayal. From what we saw, it seems like Maguire's character has finally found peace and managed to combine his normal life with his superhero identity. Meanwhile, Garfield is on the complete opposite end of this, with his version still being stuck in a dark place. Later in the movie that's even more noticeable, especially when he jumps in to save Holland's MJ when she was falling off from that building. And he starts crying when he succeeds doing it, in a way also finding some closure. Long story short, it made me want to see a goddamn 3rd movie of Garfield. Please Sony, please just make it happen for fuck's sake, please, okay? A thing that I also gotta point out before ending this entire thing is that while this movie does all of that, it does it in such a way that it doesn't take away the spotlight from Tom Holland, which is exactly how it's supposed to be, since this entire movie is about his version of Spider-Man progressing. And yeah, that's about all I can say about why I have this movie in first place. So yeah guys, what do you think of my ranking? Do you like it? Do you not? Tell me in the comments below. Also tell me if you want to see some more Marvel related stuff in the channel, cause yeah, this isn't usually the type of videos I do. I do anime reactions and sometimes manga read-throughs. But yeah, nothing is stopping me from doing more videos like this if this ends up performing well. Who knows? I may do some more. Cause honestly, after watching those 8 movies I kinda wanna get deeper into Marvel and all. But yeah, we will see about that. So yeah. Once again, thank you for watching the video, and here are some more videos you can check out if you are interested in animes. So, bye bye!